Teaching and learning for engagement is directly related to the skill and ability of teachers. The classroom climate they establish for themselves and their students greatly affects the learning process. Mind Matters believes that student mental health and well-being is a precursor to learning. After all, being in a positive state of mind is important, especially when we're trying to learn complex things. When students are motivated and engaged, schools have found they can have a positive impact on academic results. If teachers reduce stress and emotional threat in the classroom and help students develop strategies to combat stress, they've found that students will actually learn more.
At our school, obviously, our core business is about student learning. It's about the teaching, the learning, assessment, reporting. But we can't maximise student achievement if there are other issues going on in young people's lives, or if there isn't a relationship established between the teacher and the students. That's why we've placed such a huge importance on Mind Matters.
At this point where we've been in Mind Matters or utilising Mind Matters for nearly 10 years, it's become part of the whole school philosophy, and our heavy background in welfare has allowed this to happen. So most of what we do, particularly in the junior curriculum, has been given birth from the Mind Matters philosophy, not necessarily individual units or specific areas in Mind Matters, but the philosophy it brings about student welfare and student-centred, and students being the reasons for schools.
I think the most important thing about the mentoring is the relationships that students build with their adult mentor. I've never experienced anywhere as much like here. The relationships is key to getting along with the students, and it's absolutely key to them being successful. If you don't build a relationship with students, they're not really going to understand who you are, and you're not going to understand who they are.
Good afternoon, this is my SET Plan and Career Path presentation.
We introduced the Year 10 SET Plan process last year, where they would come in and they would do an interview to try and make sure that the students going through the process looked at it from all different angles. In the past, we'd found that the SET Plan or the Senior Education Training Plan was a little bit tokenistic and students didn't take it very seriously. So we incorporated it into the curriculum so that we were having more time spent on it through their English classes, as well as the pastoral care program that we provide here.
I'm 16 years old and my interests and hobbies include travelling, music, studying body language, dream analysis, playing guitar and going to local gigs.
Essentially what we ask them to do is think about who they are as a person, what their abilities are and what they're capable of achieving, as well as what their dreams and ambitions are. And once we look at all of those different things, we make some plans or some goals for the future, and then we work out a plan of how they're going to get there.
With your career path of psychology, you obviously have to go to university. Maths B can be a prerequisite for psychology courses at university, but I noted that you've only chosen Maths A there. I was wondering why you went for Maths A instead of Maths B?
Maths is not my strongest subject. I'm stronger at English, and there are some psychology courses that don't require Maths B. However, if I end up choosing one that does require it, I can do that at university as well.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Jasmine. It was fantastic. Mum, do you have any more questions or anything?
No, not at all.
No?
No, I'm quite happy with that.
It's a really interesting thing to watch because parents for the first time get to be really, really involved in what their students are doing at this school. And for a lot of the parents, I think it was a time to actually see who their child had become and where they were going.
Fortnightly we run Mind Matters programs in each year level. Each year level has a different sort of target area. I'm the Year 7 Year Advisor, and this year we've targeted bullying and harassment and enhancing resilience and friendship groups. The school sort of has a culture where everybody knows what Mind Matters is. Everybody participates, staff and students. Therefore, the types of activities that you do in Mind Matters when you're tackling big issues, such as bullying and harassment, you can then transfer those activities into your classroom specific to your KLA. So, for example, in science, if I want to do a grouping activity, for example, an experiment, I may ask the students to arrange themselves into different formations of groups so that to ensure they're working with different students.
To get you into your experiment groups today, I want you to get into birthday groups.
So in a minute, I want everybody to stand up. We're going to go down this side of the room and around the back if we have to. I want you to organise yourselves in order of when your birthdays are. So you can talk to each other. So for example, if your birthday's in January or towards the start of the year, you'll stand here. Later in the year, obviously, if your birthday's in December, go right to the back of the room. They need to talk to each other and say, okay, well, if we're both January, what date in January, and put themselves in order. So for example, one student, I'm the 25th of January, well, I'm the 3rd, so then they need to shuffle to ensure that they're in the correct order around the room, and then you number them off, the first 4, that they're group 1, the next 4, group 2, etc. We do have such a strong welfare focus here at this school. Student welfare is probably the first thing we think of before we do any type of classroom activity or approach any subject. So things like streaming classes academically. In my faculty area, we have 2 classes that we've devoted to being just girls and just boys. I actually teach the all-girls class. And by doing that, we have noticed improvement in the students' academic outcomes and also their engagement in the content that we're teaching. An example would be, like I said, I teach the Year 9 all-girls science class. When we're covering topics such as reproduction, they may feel more comfortable answering questions and asking questions than they would if boys were in the room. Initially, the concept of having an all-girls class and an all-boys class in Year 9 was not appreciated by the students, but after a short period of time being in the class, they comment on how much they enjoy it and how much they like science this year.
The whole school does the Mind Matters program, and we have every staff members involved. So each week they have the same group and they go through the program and deal with all the issues that come up, and the kids are familiar with the teacher gets very familiar with the students, and it's taken back to classrooms. They implement that. The teachers in classroom situations can say, remember when we did, such and such, and it gets passed on through various lessons because everybody's familiar with the program and everybody takes part.
Our primary goal at school is to educate children. We need to identify and establish those factors which inhibit effective learning and effective teaching. We can deal with effective teaching much more readily than effective learning when factors beyond the 4 walls of a school come into play. Several of the things that affect students in this particular time and age have a lot to do with external factors. It can be generational things, peer pressure, problems at home, change of money, self-image, things that they're just picking up in the media in general. All of these things have an effect on student concentration, student interest, student valuing education. We can tackle some of those, but some of them beyond our control as we're primarily teaching organisations. So one of the things that we can do is to help students to identify what it is that the issues are and what support they can get to help them become better learners within school.
Quality teachers spend time creating learning environments that are safe and supportive. They work at developing positive relationships and set high but achievable expectations as part of a whole student approach. Teaching and learning for engagement means that teachers use interactive teaching methods and provide regular opportunities for students to learn, practice and reflect on social and emotional skills like self-awareness and relationship skills. As part of a whole school approach, skills and knowledge about social and emotional learning and mental health need to be delivered sequentially across the curriculum over all years of schooling. Mind Matters suggests schools integrate this across all learning areas.
The main use of the resource kit is where it's used on a year basis, where we have our individual Mind Matters program, which we concentrate on specific welfare areas during the initiative time, which is half an hour once a week. Within the KLA, we've developed the philosophy of behind underlying Mind Matters across the curriculum. So it's more the philosophy of writing your curriculum, integrating your curriculum, engaging students, thinking your classroom is your centre of welfare. So if you've got your curriculum right, well, the welfare structure flows from getting your curriculum right.
We have been fortunate not only in that our parent bodies work with the school and have taken advantage of the Mind Matters initiative by involving themselves in programs that we run over the last 3 years, and also made suggestions. We've also been able to incorporate educational and health bodies, as well as in some cases businesses, to support the school through their involvement. They've been able to lend us expertise, they've been able to lend us time, facilities. They certainly have been able to broaden what it is that we've been able to provide for our staff and students in the wider teaching and learning programs at our school. Schools will concentrate and continue to concentrate on trying to provide product quality teaching programs, but we do try and guide and support them through an appropriate curriculum that will allow them to learn more effectively.
Most of what we do, particularly in the junior curriculum, has been given birth from the Mind Matters philosophy, not necessarily individual units or specific areas in Mind Matters, but the philosophy it brings about student welfare and student-centred, and students being the reasons for schools.
The students feel like they can come and tell you what's going on. They're very they're empowered with what they think they can do and what they need to get help for, and they're very happy to do that because it's just part of the culture. You know, it's not bad to have something wrong, and it's not really bad for them to seek help, and so they quite often will go to the staff member that is their Mind Matters teacher, or someone in a classroom situation where they've been doing things in a classroom through the curriculum, and they will seek help that way, and it comes up via the office, and everybody supports everybody. The kids support. It really works well.